Hello and welcome to the Pop Council Podcast. This is a show where each week we discuss topics in the geek world, as well as various fandoms such as Disney, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, theme parks, and everything in between. I'm Jami, Philbrick, entertainment journalist and critic for We Live Entertainment and a member of the Hollywood Critics Association. We have a great show planned for you today. DC Fandom was this weekend. We will be unpacking everything, all the news, announcements, trailers, including the Batman, the Flash, opening scene from Black Adam, and so much more. We'll also be talking a little bit of Marvel with Marvel's news this morning that they are changing some release dates for 2022 and 2023. We'll also talk Adam Warlock, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 casting news, and so much more. But it would not be a Pop Council podcast without my wonderful co-host, Wendy Lee. Hey, Wendy.
Hello, hello. How are you, Jami? So excited to dive into all this DC fandom talk. It was a very busy, I'm sure for all the trailer reactors out there, as well as like journalists, it's just a lot of note-taking, a lot of wowing. I can't wait to dive into that today.
Yeah, I have a little notebook full of scraps, little scribblings of what this happened, that happened, and taking notes for the show. Of course, it would not be a Pop Council podcast without a third council member. So we have a return champion, Derek Sante, member of the Hollywood Critics Association. Derek, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? Happy to be here.
Good, man. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I am a critic a long time. I started in radio, went from there on to reviewing everything from movies to video games to TV. I am a huge nerd. You can find me at most Comic-Cons and film festivals. So whenever it comes to this stuff, I love it 100%. And of course, you can find me on TV as well as websites and a bunch of other places too. More importantly, I just have to get this nerdism out of me one way or the other. So it's either here on camera or in a dark room by myself.
Always best on camera, my friend. Always best on camera. Well, so there's so much to talk about with DC Fandom. Let's just get right into it. So, of course, DC Fandom was on Saturday. It's sort of DC's version of the Comic-Con presentation. And there were a lot of announcements in addition to all of the trailers and footage that we got to see from upcoming DC films and television projects. Patty Jenkins announced that Wonder Woman 3 is in the works. There was Titans 4 was announced. Smallville had a 20th reunion, which was fun. And Grant Gustin announced that he will be wearing the gold boots this season, upcoming on CW's The Flash. So there was a lot of stuff. I'm just curious. I want to kind of throw it around the horn for a second. Derek, we'll start with you. Just what were your thoughts without anything, any specific mention of specific things that were presented? But what was your sort of overall thought of the whole DC fandom this weekend, comparing it to last year? How do you think it worked? How do you think it went?
Well, I think, the one thing is it's a rollout one way or the other. It's pre-produced. It's all made, all put together, huge green screen where you have them sweeping in from a camera. So that's one thing that is more like it's almost like a presentation that's very nerdy, but it also has kind of a meeting/convention kind of feel where it's like, this is what we did this year and that's why stocks are up or prices are up. Usually when we come to a Comic-Con type thing, we get the separation of events. We get a deep dive into everything as well. And this just felt more like it did last year, more like a big promo reel, which it really is at the end of the day. Right. Lots of great stuff, of course. All our nerd fixes. We get little tastes of everything. And there's teasers galore. So there's a lot of great stuff, but overall, I just want more at the end of the day, and I want more updates on all my favorite things. So I'll sit through it. I'll go through some stuff, and some things I'll groan at, but other things I'll clap for. But that's kind of my overall feeling when it comes to DC fandom.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Of course, it's a big, promotional event. Obviously, it's an ad for all of these projects. I will say that I thought last year, obviously given the pandemic and everything was going on, I thought DC Fandom was actually the best online presentation. I thought they kicked butt compared to Comic-Con, what they try to do, or, anything else. And so last year it was, because it was such a, I think, obviously they didn't expect to be doing that last summer. I think that they did a great job of kind of throwing it together, but it was like 2 days. They had to like spread it out over separate weekends. And I really liked, while it was much more produced this year, and condensed, I thought that actually was better to just do sort of a 4-hour presentation that we can kind of, run over and over again all weekend long, as opposed to, this giant 24-hour thing where you have to kind of have a schedule. All right, when Zack Snyder's Justice League presentations, when this. Now, the one thing we did lose was the presentations were much, much smaller. There weren't a lot of like full casts talking about this, especially with the TV stuff. I think they kind of slimmed that down a little bit. Of course, we had Robert Pattinson, and we had Matt Reeves and Zoe Kravitz, and you had a few cast members and a few of the bigger things, but for the most part, they kind of condensed that, which I thought actually did well for the overall event. So, Wendy, what were your thoughts overall of this year's event?
I really enjoyed it, and to kind of echo your thoughts on the first time we ever got to see DC Fandome in 2020, I thought production value was great because they had this, they created this little intro that made you feel like you were digitally walking into a con, which I know all of us were missing because we were all under lockdown. We were all at home, cabin fever, running galore. So I thought this year matched last year's pretty well, even though it was a much smaller block. Like you said, it wasn't the full 24 hours. It was just the 4 hours. The one thing I did miss, because the production wise, it was still very much the same. Derek kind of mentioned it with the camera sweeping in, everybody standing on the green screen. It's very well produced. My friend Tiffany Smith hosted a lot of the parts of the presentation. Essentially, you saw her throughout the whole thing. She, as always, does a fantastic job. I have nothing ever bad to say about Tiffany because she is an angel. But I really missed being able to have that schedule down to the hour. I was not thrilled the fact that I couldn't have the schedule, but that was really more of a me thing than anybody else, because I knew I was planning to, pump out some content, video content, reactions to the trailers and the clips and breakdowns and thoughts. And I knew that if I had a schedule, I could better plan what was coming up instead of just guessing. I mean, we knew what they were going to put at the bottom of the show. We all knew that. You want to finish big, imagine if they put that up front. Let's well, what are we going to get at the end? Announcement for Joker 2 confirmed or something crazy like that. But nonetheless, I had a really good time. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't think I would be as interested in, but because you have it on throughout the 4 hours, you're like, wow. And I found myself not doing the work and the editing that I needed to be doing. And instead I was watching, anytime Jin Lee popped in, I was like, oh, let's hear what the master has to say. So overall, I thought it was a really fun event. And still till this day, I do feel that compared to the other digital conventions that we've seen throughout this year and last year, DC Fandome is still the tops.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Go ahead, Derek.
So the one
Derek,
thing I will
like
say
your
is
flag.
Well, I got to wave it proudly, right? The
That's amazing.
DC universe here. So now the one thing I will say about this event, like I said, it's all cut together in a promo, almost like you're trying to sell me one way or the other. Come on down here, check this out. But one thing I do kind of miss was more of the interaction and the one thing they got when they talk about the Batman we'll get to, there was some more talking with the actors and stuff too. But at the end of the day, I feel like they just didn't have a lot of stuff they could show in longevity. It was all mini clips. I feel like everyone was Warner Bros. Says we need at least 2 minutes, and we have to make 2 minutes happen. We got to make 2 minutes happen some way or another to get this much footage. I don't know. Show them at the craft service table. Okay, I'll show them playing poker after a shoot. Whatever we can show, put it in the camera, put it in the reel. And so that's kind of what I felt when I was watching it. They were just kind of rushing to get all that stuff in. And some of the stuff they didn't even have anything for, which is fine. It's all future kind of forward. But at the same time, I would have liked to had, even if it was Tiffany, who I love too, do stuff with her at Comic-Con, had her kind of maybe talk to some of them a little bit more and get some more of that nerd questions and some of those nerd answers that'll kind of, sate our appetites until we get some visuals, really.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And in fact, I did, like I mentioned, I did miss sort of getting to talk to the cast a little bit more. We'll talk about this in a second, but I was a little disappointed with the presentations that just showed basically EPKs, behind the scenes footage, as opposed to any real new footage, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And Wendy, I just wanted to mention that I too was missing the schedule. Like Thursday and Friday, I was looking online, like, where's the schedule? There should be a schedule. I didn't realize, so that I did miss that a little bit too. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we could have guessed that Dwayne Johnson was going to open the show and that the Batman was going to finish the show. I mean, that wasn't a big
heavy hitters sandwiching the whole event.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let's get right into it. So trailer wise, full trailer, we saw the first full trailer for the Peacemaker TV series. In addition to the Flash film, we got a little teaser trailer for that. But let's start with talking about the Batman trailer. So they did a little bit of a fake out. This is a little bit of the Riddler in one of the posters they released. And you can also see when we cut back to me here, the Batman poster, oops, right over there. It was interesting because what was it? I think Thursday or Friday, they released early in the week. They said, here's the trailer for the new Batman ahead of this weekend. And it really wasn't that different than the trailer that we got at DC Fandome last year with the Nirvana song and mostly the same clips, a couple of new images. And I was a little disappointed. I was like, wow, this is what they're going to show for the Batman? Well, of course they didn't. Oh, there's Derek's got a dancing Batman.
That's amazing. I love that.
So of course they didn't. They showed a brand new trailer, and it was pretty awesome. You got more footage of Colin Farrell as the Penguin. We got to see a great sort of car chase scene at the end of the trailer between Batman and the Penguin. We got to see more of Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and I think the trailer, you get to hear more of the sound of the score, and I think you get a good idea of what Matt Reeves is going for with this. My only complaint is it seems very Nolan-ish, and I feel like we've been down that road before, and he keeps talking about Batman Year One, and we in Long Halloween, and we know Batman Year One and Long Halloween were the inspirations for the Dark Knight trilogy. So it just feels a little bit to me like we've treaded in this water before. But that being said, it looks awesome and it's the Batman, so I'm all in. Derek, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we're watching the trailer. Of course, the Penguin's a huge part of it. Colin Farrell, fantastic. But did anyone else get a little bit of flavor? Pacino and Dick Tracy a little bit with that character? A little bit, right? He's like, I want Tracy dead. I want Tracy dead. I kind of had that.
And I love that line. Yeah, I loved that moment. That moment where it's like, I got you. I didn't think Dick Tracy. I thought more like, someone doing a bad impression of, Brando or De Niro in The Godfather. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to say a bad impression, but you're just sort of doing that. But yeah, Derek, what were your thoughts overall on the Batman trailer?
Well, I mean, I loved everything about it. Of course, we already seen a bunch of stuff already. And really, I think what Matt is trying to do is, bring Batman down to the basis of everything he is. It's like Batman, the college years. I know what I'm doing, kind of. I got some stuff set up, It's like my Batcave is like dorm room ready. It's not like I got a big old house ready, So it's all of these levels where we're trying to kind of get to those things there. He's going to mess up. He's still going to, have the ability. And what more importantly, it's like I have the teenage / college bro rage in me too, because that seems to be the number one thing is just so much anger. Like I want to talk to Bruce Wayne's doctor at the time and been like, you know what, your blood pressure way too high. We need you to calm down, some yoga. We need you to have a little garden or something because your level really, really high. I mean, that right there, it's almost like he's taking adrenaline all the time too. And then of course, the one thing is though, as we make a darker Batman in a darker world, my biggest thing is going to be this. What's the juxtaposition between Bruce Wayne and Batman? Of course, we know Batman is the real Bruce Wayne and Bruce Wayne is the costume. But there's sometimes, even in some of these where he's already got some leftover eyeshadow under the eyes and you see the brooding long hair. It's it could jump into a goth video automatically. I expect them to sing Helena or something like that, come out of it, or so the Black Parade or something. So it's that close when I look at him in that sense. So that's going to be the judge for me too. I think a lot of people, Bruce Wayne is always kind of the judge of where Batman goes to, because Batman can be, dark and brooding and action packed, but Bruce Wayne is also the one that brings it home. And that's why we do lists like Michael Keaton always does so well. Michael Keaton, his Bruce Wayne was just impeccable comparatively, and so that's, I think, where we're going to find the lines and how we like this Batman or not.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've always said Michael Keaton's the best Batman, but Christian Bale was the best Bruce Wayne. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, the importance of the juxtaposition between Bruce and Batman. Wendy, we also got to see really, we'd seen a little bit of Paul Dano's character. Everyone's assuming is the Riddler. I think at this point it's a good assumption. But
the question mark in the latte art doesn't give it away.
Although there's been talk that it's a lot of sort of throwing us off and that he's really Hush. I've heard those rumors.
Is Hush supposed to be in this movie?
But there's been talk that maybe he's playing Hush and not Riddler. But I think that this is Riddler, especially after we got this trailer. Like you said, the question mark and the coffee. So we finally got to see more Riddler, as well as more Catwoman and Penguin. Wendy, what were your overall thoughts on getting to see all of that and seeing the direction Matt Reeves is going in?
I love the direction. I've never had a problem with like a dark superhero movie. So for me, already being like championing Robert Pattinson in this role, I am so excited for this movie. And the trailer, I just ate it up. And the fact that we got to see even just a little bit more of the if you will, the villains in the film, I feel like for the Riddler, we still just got the tiny tidbits. In the very first trailer they showed us in 2020, it was a little bit, it's really mysterious. I like that they're keeping under wraps, and from the tone that we saw in this trailer, and Derek, the both of you actually pointed out, there's so much rage with this Batman that in the in not interrogation, what is it called, like when Batman is sitting across from the glass and visiting him in prison, I'm guessing. And he kind of punches the plexiglass there, and he's like, "What have you done?" Just seeing how much the Riddler can play that mind game with Batman. Batman's smart, and to see him drive Batman to that point of frustration, it's going to be really interesting to see. And that's definitely something I'm looking forward to in this film. I am okay with us not getting too much footage of Paul Dano in these two trailers. I'm sure there's plenty of marketing between now and March 4th when the movie comes out. So I'm sure we'll get more to bite on. The Penguin, or should I say it's Orson. I don't know if he's full Penguin in this one. I think he will be. He'll probably start walking his way into full Penguin towards the end of this film, maybe. But Orson Cobblepot is just, he's fun to watch. He's always been fun to watch in all the different iterations. So I'm very excited to see this. And then Catwoman is just so, she gave me everything I wanted to see from, she walks that fine line of is she fighting for the good side or the bad side? There really is just one side for her. It's the Catwoman side. She will, say what you need to hear in order so you can work with her so she can get what she wants from you, and then she'll just stab you in the back. She won't blink twice. But it's really interesting to see her meeting Batman and that flirtiness that comes through that we know of Catwoman, and then bits of Selena Kyle seeping through as well. And especially when Batman was pummeling that guy, and she kind of comes up and she's like, "Oh my!" Just everything you read her expression. She's just dawning upon her is who is this man and what is this rage that we're all experiencing? She's experiencing it firsthand, or witnessing it. So it's really interesting. I love the trailer, and I love the final shot too of after he, flipped Orson's car and seeing it from then Orson's point of view, and it's Batman coming in for you, but it's upside down. Fantastic.
Yeah, I love that shot, and then the sort of the title kind of comes across, and I thought that was a really sweet design as well. Let's move on. Go ahead, Derek.
Just really quickly, the three things that I'm thinking. First of all, of course, the Riddler. You have Paul Dano, who is an amazing actor, and he's not gonna rest until he delivers something insane, because Heath Ledger left the bar so high that everyone else is just chasing it constantly. The other thing, I'm looking at. the ultimate villain. Well, it's just he defined it in the Batman universe already, and so everyone's chasing it constantly. The other thing is, you know, we have to look at Andy Serkis's and his Alfred too, because he's supposed to be the one who kind of like, you know, stop, you know, don't hit everyone, don't kill everyone, gotta calm down a little bit too. And so that's kind of my thing as well. So there's a lot of stuff still to play, and so you know, I think we're gonna get a little bit more as we come. But I think the Riddler is gonna be the one where it's just gonna like blow us away more than anything else. I feel like Act 1 is of course gonna be Cobblepot, but the Riddler is going to be the steak dinner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love
and
that.
I, you know, and also seeing the image of Andy Serkis in the trailer as Alfred, as well as how Colin Farrell is playing the Penguin, both images reminded me of Batman Year One and how Alfred and Penguin look in Batman Year One. So I'm wondering if maybe they're taking some inspiration for some characters from that and sort of applying it to the overall kind of long Halloween, you know, Batman Year 2 story. So listen, we got more Batman stuff to talk about. We're not done with Batman trailers. This one, in fact, is the trailer for the Flash, teaser trailer, I should say. It is narrated by Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne Batman from his Tim Burton films. So that was pretty awesome to hear his voice. You see a little bit of some elements of Flashpoint, the Flash, you know, going back to the death of his mother. And then the trailer ends with this amazing shot. We see Batman, of course, Michael Keaton's cowl sort of from behind in the Batcave, and our Flash, as well as Supergirl, and another Ezra Miller Flash, which we will talk about that in a second. But that was kind of shocking to see. This is sort of the multiverse, the DC multiverse, Guardians of the Multiverse, if you will. And they're asking, you know, Michael Keaton's Batman to help them. So a lot of interesting stuff to dissect here. Who is this second Ezra Miller Flash? There are a lot of theories going around that maybe he'll be the Reverse Flash, or that he's some sort of dark version of Barry Allen from a different multiverse. Also, very interesting thing that I saw online, that if you remember the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, when Bruce Wayne first goes to sort of the Flash cave, if you will, to recruit Barry, he shows him that picture from Batman v Superman where he stops the robbery in the 7-Eleven or whatever that convenience store was. That is a Flash. That's Ezra Miller with longer hair.
Yes.
And the Ezra Miller with shorter hair that Batman is, he says to Ben Affleck's Batman, this is a guy that looks like me, but this is not me. And we all assumed he was just lying or joking or something. But what if?
Oh my gosh.
They have planted the evil long-haired Ezra Miller Flash as way back as Batman v. I just blew Wendy's mind. Now this is all internet theory. This is all internet theory. But Derek, let me start with you. What did you make of the trailer, and what are your thoughts as you run at lightning speed? What were your thoughts on the reveal of that we'll have two Ezra Miller Barry Allens in this movie?
Well, and that's I mean, the main things that come into play for me. First of all, love the new costume, 100%. I'm glad we don't have those little rubber tug ties all over to keep it all together. Like he should put egg cartons on himself and tie them onto his body. So I love the new costume. I love the feel of it all together. But coming into the story, you could be right on this too. You know, when it comes to Reverse Flash, I don't think when think about DC films is they don't try to go too deep into it, where Marvel does sometimes. Like they bring brand new people out and all these storylines. But I don't think DC goes as deep into their stories or into the back end. They'd rather kind of make a roundabout way. So it's easier to explain an alternate Barry would be Reverse Flash than to bring out Thawne into play and try to explain him and futures and all that stuff too. And of course, this is Flashpoint. So anything can happen, and there's so much stuff that could happen. And if anyone is a huge, huge nerd like myself, you've watched all the animated tales, you watched Justice League, you watched all these ways, who of course, all of them have done Flashpoint because it's just so rich. There's just so many things you could do, because after you come back from the past, the future could be anything. It could be Nazis. It could be, evil Justice League. It could be all these things. So because of that, that's one of those things where it's just so open. So I'm leaving myself open to all of that as well. And then having this whole multiverse thing is just, frosting on the cake. 100%. You bring in as many other people as possible. Let's, maybe not George Clooney's Batman, but we can have other people. I'll take O'Donnell back as a Robin, maybe. I don't know, whatever. So like, there's some things I'll take, and some things we're just gonna leave off to the side and be like, know what? Like, give me a Danny DeVito Penguin, and I'll be happy for a year, like 100%.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
No, it's so far off of Wick. It's not even a Flash thing. But if it was just for a second, oh my God, I feel like I just ate like the best dinner ever. I would just be like there.
I would not mind seeing that at all.
I hope they bring back Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex. That would be awesome. No. And Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern.
If he came back, he just have to look at Jonah Hex and go, "Oh, this is the darkest universe." No, we gotta leave
this is the worst universe. Yeah. So, real quick, there was another thought I had, and I don't believe that this is the case anymore. But when I first saw that trailer and saw the two Flashes together, my first thought was, what if this is a Hulk in Avengers Infinity War thing, where it's actually Grant Gustin in the scene, but they digitally put a double Ezra for the teaser to throw everyone off. I don't think that's the case anymore, because there's enough scenes of a long-haired Ezra in the movie, in the teaser, that I don't think they, you know what I mean? If it was one scene, that's one thing, but I don't think they would do it with, you see, it's the long-haired one who reveals the Batmobile at the very end. So I don't think that's the case anymore either. But Wendy, what were your thoughts on the two Flashes and, getting to see hearing Michael Keaton's voice and seeing a little bit of him as Batman in this, and of course, as well, seeing Supergirl really officially for the first time?
So the trailer, it's not. Can I even call it
teaser.
A trailer? The teaser,
it's funny. Ezra didn't even call it a teaser.
They put a little something together, is what he said.
I think it's definitely a teaser. I think we can call it a teaser trailer.
It's just so great to be able to see the bits and pieces that they're able to show us. I don't know how much things are finished from what we saw, but I like that we got to see the suit. I thought the light up effect on it looked practical. It looks really, really cool. Seeing first of all, the Batman part broke me, even though I knew it was coming. Like, I was expecting it. I wasn't sure in what capacity they were going to show it to us. And like, I freaked out over just seeing the cowl. I was like, oh my God, even though I already knew he was going to be in the film. But seeing the two different Barry Allens took me a second, because so my eyes, I was like, am I seeing triple or double? Because we also have Sasha as Supergirl, and she's also got, dark hair, and her top is red. So I was like, it took a second. I couldn't just pause because I wanted to stay on the flow and just kind of keep going and watch the trailer. And then I went back later, and it's so interesting. Derek points out that obviously we have a speedster in the film. He's the focus of the film. So we get to play with the timeline, the going to the future, coming back into the past, the Flashpoint paradox, which is a fantastic animated feature from DC that everybody should absolutely watch. I'm obsessed. It's so, so, so good. So, like, just hearing you guys think about, could it be a reverse Flash? Could Grant Gustin's Flash be in this one? We saw Ezra Miller visit the CW show, like literally was in it, and it wasn't a green screen. They were physically both on set together. Honestly, everything is possible. And I think that's what is making me so excited for this film. Like, I know we're joking about like, oh, we could see like, this penguin pop up and that penguin pop up. And I think there's a rumor, I don't know if it's confirmed, but the Batfleck will be in this one as well.
I believe that's official. That I think he is sort of the way I understand it. He's sort of, if you're looking at this like the Flashpoint comic, he's like the regular Batman at the beginning, and then Michael Keaton is sort of the Thomas Wayne Batman in the story. That's the way I sort of understand it. The other thing I want to mention before we move on is, Wendy, a couple weeks ago, the director tweeted out.
One more thing about the Flash. So I thought about this literally like hours after I saw the film, and this is speculation. This is just, my own headcanon. But you know how in the very beginning they pull up to, it's foggy, they pull up to the house or the mansion, and it's all foggy, and there's two figures that steps out of the taxi, could it be the Barry Allen?
I believe they're both the Barry Allens because
Ironically, they're both wearing yellow.
Yeah.
Like
And I think one
Flash
has like
color.
a brown yellow and one has like a green yellow sort of parka hoodie thing on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are both the same two Ezras we see at the end of the movie, which I didn't even notice that it's two different Ezras getting out at the beginning until I watched the trailer for like the second or third time.
I mean, it could be or it could not be. We don't know. We're not seeing faces.
Right.
What would blow my mind is if one was Alan and the other one's name was Wally West or something like that. Like, blow my mind. I'm like, oh my god, yes. Yeah. So that's where I'm going to play. I'm like, yeah.
That's good, Derek.
I don't need to see pulse or anything. Give me that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, the other thing I wanted to mention is, Wendy, you remember a couple weeks ago, the director tweeted out a photo and it was a bat suit painted red with a lightning kind of across the chest.
Yes,
and we were like, what is it? That's what the long-haired Ezra is wearing in the final shot of here. I'll put it right back up. That's what he's wearing. That's the bat suit with the lightning. So either that Flash doesn't have a suit yet. I mean, this is just speculation, but Michael Keaton Batman gives him one of his own suits. They painted red. I think we actually see a shot in the trailer of him painting lightning on other boots. Yeah. So I don't, a lot of speculation there on that, but I think that tells us a little bit of what that tweet was a couple of weeks ago. I think that gives us a better idea of what that is.
I think it's just a lesson that kids, if you put a lightning bolt on anything, like shoes, you're going to run faster. It's just true.
You too can be a speedster.
That's it.
Well, there was talk that maybe that costume looks similar to Red Death from the comics. So whether this Barry Allen is actually Red Death, which would fit in, could kind of be Red Death instead of Reverse Flash. There's I think the teaser showed us more potential. We had so many questions already going into this film. I think we have more questions than answers after it, but that's what we love to get us excited and going. So we also mentioned at DC Fandome, we got some behind the scenes footage from Shazam Fury of the Gods. We actually got to see Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu in costume. Not a lot of footage in this scene, a little bit of footage, but mostly sort of a behind the scenes thing. The same with Aquaman Lost Kingdom. We'd already seen, of course, Momoa in his new costume. We also got a shot, again, this was just behind the scenes footage, but we did get to see a nice shot of Black Manta in the full Black Manta costume for the second film. And we can talk a little bit about that. As Derek had mentioned, it's a little disappointing, I think, to see behind the scenes footage and not some actual footage from the film. But we got the opening scene from Black Adam. Dwayne Johnson opened the whole event with his presentation. Again, there was sort of an EPK behind the scenes footage with a couple interviews with Pierce Brosnan about Dr. Fate and some of the other actors in the film. But the opening scene saw Sarah Shahi, who we thought or think might be playing Isis. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. But we see her, what appears to be present day, on a sort of an archaeological expedition in a cave. We see a flying crown, some magical stuff happens. Black Adam appears. Soldiers come out of nowhere and start shooting bullets at Black Adam. There's actually this awesome shot where he grabs one of them by the neck and sort of chokes them and electrocutes them and turns them to ash as all the soldiers are coming in. So it's an awesome opening scene. I think really gives you an idea of what the Black Adam movie is going to be all about, and certainly the tone of the film. Wendy, let me start with you. What were your thoughts on this, getting to see this opening scene from Black Adam?
It's everything I wanted and more. I'm less familiar with Black Adam, but I know that The Rock has been speaking very passionately about wanting to take on the role of Black Adam. So to finally see it, him wearing the suit and finally getting just even if it felt like 30 seconds, maybe a minute of footage was really great. This, I believe, is one of The Rock doesn't get to play too many villains. So I think he's going to have just a fantastic time in this one. He is imposing and intimidating and extremely powerful. I just can't wait to see this movie. And then one of the things I kind of wish we got a little bit at the end of it which, by the way, it was fine that it was, centered on Black Adam because it's the Black Adam movie. But I would have also liked to see some of the other characters as well. We got to see a little bit of them speak about being a part of the movie during DC Fandom, like a little mini panel, mini presentation, if you will. But I kind of wanted to see them in the trailer, just so I want to see everybody in their costumes. But it sets the tone for what we're gonna get. For Black Adam. And you guys know how I feel about like dark tone movies. Like I love it because my soul is dark. So completely up my alley.
Yeah, I agree. I would have loved to seen like a first appearance of the JSA in the costumes. I mean, I can't wait to see Pierce Brosnan. There was one shot of him sort of holding Dr. Fate's helmet under his arm, but to see him in the full costume would be amazing. But of course, I get that they're kind of saving that for the next one, or for the next trailer, rather. And yeah, also interesting, Wendy, you mentioned to see him playing a villain. I'm not sure how much of a villain Black Adam is going to be. I think he's certainly going to be. Yeah, I think anti-hero.
That's probably a better term.
I heard someone compare it kind of to Venom, how, Venom, they did that, made him sort of the hero of his own story. So I think there's going to be a big bad in this. I think certainly Black Adam will be the antagonist and the antagonist for the JSA, but wouldn't be surprised if there's a bigger bad and they have to team up in the third act together to defeat the big bad, and then Black Adam goes his own way. Derek, what were your thoughts on the trailer and or not the trailer, but the opening scene and how it sort of sets tone for the movie?
Well, I have a bunch of stuff to say about all the different properties you talked about, but let's go to Black Adam. My first thought is going to be, of course, Dwayne Johnson is not going to be a villain. Like his branding, his marketing will never let him be the full villain, which is bad because I would love to see it be done right. Like to be a good villain, you have to go to 100%. And there's some times when like, he's wanted this so much, I feel like he's already half written the character, whether it fits into canon or not in his mind as well, because he wants to be the opposite to Superman. It's what his mindset is. It's not anything else. I'm the magical Superman. That's what I want. And of course, Superman's weakness is magic. So that is already in his mind. He's already planning it out. And don't get me wrong, if he can somehow make it happen, that fight out, and he can bring Henry Cavill back, like 100%, I'm there, yes. But outside of that, this whole thing right now is just to kind of prop him up and become something like, as you mentioned, kind of an anti-villain, kind of in a Venom kind of sort. So we'll see what happens. Dr. Fate is one of my favorite parts about all this, truthfully. Having our own sorcerer in DC done correctly. I love Constantine in the TV show side, but he's more of the necromancer than anything else. He does have some sorcery and some magic there as well. But to see Dr. Fate come in, he is a heavy hitter. If you read any of the comics, he is the equal to Doctor Strange in the Marvel, like keeping things in balance, keeping the world going, keeping others in check. So there's a lot of that stuff out there that definitely is going to come into play. As for the way it's going to work out, I don't know, and I'm cautiously optimistic because I do want him to be a good, rounded character, not just overly powerful and he makes his own decisions and this is what happens kind of thing. I would love for there to be an opposition that makes sense, not just a vehicle for The Rock to have his own another set of toys and lines and things going out there too.
Yeah, definitely. And also interesting, I want to mention that we got a little bit of a preview of what they're planning for Batgirl and Blue Beetle on the HBO Max movie side. So real quick, Wendy, what were your thoughts about the behind the scenes footage we got from Shazam 2 and Aquaman 2, and then the sort of non-footage preview of Batgirl and Blue Beetle?
I mean, obviously, I'm happy to have any news for all these upcoming shows and films. I'm actually a little surprised that they weren't able to put something together for Shazam, a la kind of like The Flash. But I also understand that the film isn't even set to come out until 2023. So for us to get a full-blown, like even if it's just a teaser, it's probably a bit too much. What I did like was seeing a couple of new players coming into Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and that's Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren, who obviously looks flawless at all times. I like that they didn't show us they very behind the scenes shots of the two of them. Like no special effects, nothing was finished. And I like that because, again, the movie's really far away. And I'm kind of a sucker for behind the scenes stuff, because I love all forms of entertainment and I love watching like actors work in that organic setting. So it was really cool. For Blue Beetle and Batgirl, again, I wanted so much more from Blue Beetle. I think it was great that we got to have a conversation. They had Sholo on the presentation, obviously, to talk about it. But I've been very excited for Blue Beetle for a very long time. I think he is the perfect actor to play Jaime Reyes / Blue Beetle. I just wanted even just a little clip of something other. But again, he was literally announced that he was cast, couple months ago, maybe.
Right. Yep.
So I know it's way too early, and this is all me just being a fan of all these upcoming stuff and being way too greedy.
We're all greedy when it comes to this stuff. We want more.
Well, that suit's going to be amazing. I mean, it's the symbiote.
There's like a concept art of it.
Yeah, so I mean, that's going to be, and the thing is going to be how it works, the graphics. I want Iron Man nanotechnology type graphics for it to work out to be like that clean, and then you've got me, and you can see all this stuff as well. And then really, the first thing I thought of is, of course, it is sentient. The Beetle attaches to him. So what's the voice? Who's the voice that's going to be there? Is it a Nolan North? Is it who's going to be the voice in his head? Because in the animated, it's Jaime, talk to me. Yeah, it's got like a little bit of a
like Young Justice.
Yeah. So I want to see who's the voice they put in his head, because that's going to make a big difference as to the personality, in the same way that Venom's does. Venom's a way of kind of just being a punk rock Bobcat Goldthwait, kind of just throws you off, and you're like, I don't want to do that. And you're like, okay, that's Venom. Cool, let's go. So yeah, I definitely have that feeling too. But more importantly, I think the Latin community is going to be very happy about this too. Marvel's been trying to find a way to get Latin in there as well, and they just haven't really had the way to kind of connect it. Jaime is definitely the leading when it comes to superheroes and the Latin community, and I think that's going to be a big one. I mean, as long as they don't lean too much on the hermanos and all these different ways, he brings stuff up, which they kind of do in the animated. But if that's for kids, that's fine. But if they kind of do it in the right way, they do that bridge, I think that not only is it going to do well across regular markets, but I think in all the Latin communities, they're gonna jump for joy for him as well. So that's definitely one of my things when it comes to Blue Beetle, and I'm extremely happy to have him in this world. So yeah.
And Derek, what were your thoughts on the Aquaman and the Shazam behind the scenes footage, and then the Batgirl presentation? Yeah.
So I have some thoughts here. First of all, Aquaman, one of my favorite films. If I see it on HBO Max, it's like another Shawshank Redemption. I see it, I'm like, yeah, why don't I just watch this again? I'll just watch Aquaman again. Why don't I? So that's kind of my thought pattern there. My thing though is this: we're coming into this one, and it seems like they gave Jason Momoa, and the way he was talking, he had some writing or idea credits or things that were coming into this, which, as we know, can be awesome, but can also be just a deep dive into like nothingness as well. Sometimes you get some great stuff like a Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool, and other times you get someone who puts their fingers into it and you're like, why are you doing this? Stop hurting the person I love. Why are you killing the family member off? So that's my only worry. I know we're going to really get into the eco side of things, which we should, and we should do it in a smart way, in a way that matters to kids too. But we shouldn't like placate or dumb down to it too much either. So there's a lot of stuff I think is going to come into Aquaman world that I definitely want to see how it's going to shake out, and make sure that it's going to be worthwhile altogether. Of course, we're in a Lost Kingdom, which really we kind of brought the Lost Kingdom out with the first one. So we'll see where this one kind of comes into play. And then we already see Ocean Master kind of comes back, and a couple other people, Manta comes back as well. So there's definitely a lot of the big baddies coming out too. But I would love to see his world get bigger as well, and show that the ocean actually covers more of the earth than land, and he understands that and takes a lot of other stuff into play too, not just what's happening on his block only, and he's just in charge of the HOA, and I'm going to make sure everything's cool in the waters. So that's kind of my thought pattern there. I will say I am excited for the Aquaman cartoon as well, which I showed a little bit of. So that looked a lot of fun as well. So I'm excited for that, because I feel like it's it's the playful nature of us going, he talks to fishes, you know, a little tee-hee kind of thing. So I feel like that's in there as well. So I'm all about that too. But for those two, we'll see. As for Shazam, I love Shazam, but I was not a big fan of how it ended. Like, why do we have to take Billy Batson, who is Shazam, and then just add like 8 other people? Like, is this so we can cover every demographic and make sure everybody's happy? Like, I was just kind of like blah about that too. And so I really wanted to be more about his struggles and how he kind of connects to the rest of the world. And then him also rising up too, because when he becomes part of the Justice League, he's another Superman essentially. And he's kind of the opposite or the way to kind of combat that or be another option. But his childish nature makes it more fun. So that's something we'll have to see. And then we'll have to see how they use all the other Shazams in order as well and where that all comes into play. So that's where I'm going to fall into that. Outside of that, it kind of feels like a God of War, like we're all climbing Mount Olympus to stop them what they were doing, and or they're putting their fingers, Zeus or whoever's putting their fingers into things, and now he has to come into play and rise to the top and take them out. So that's kind of my thought pattern so far, but whether it's true or not, time will tell.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've covered a lot with DC Fandom. There's so much more that happened that we can't really get into with time, but we did have, we're going to shift a little bit to Marvel. We had some exciting Marvel news this morning. So Marvel Studios has shifted release dates on at least 5 of their upcoming films. So Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness is moving from March 2022 to May 6th of 2022. Thor Love and Thunder will move from May of 22 to July 8th of 2022. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is moving from the summer to November 11th of 2022. The Marvels will move from November 22nd to February 17th, 2023. Ant-Man 3 will move to July 28th, 2023. And while this is not Marvel, obviously, Disney has also, because of that, shifted the dates on Indiana Jones 5 to from July 22nd to June 30th of 2023. So it looks to me like we're just pushing some of these dates, I think maybe one film over, right? Spacing them out a little bit. We're going to have 3 Marvels movies a year instead of 4. And so it just seems to me like we're just sort of spacing them out a little bit. A lot of people online are saying, oh, well, they moved Doctor Strange because they're worried about the Batman in March. Maybe not. I don't know about that. But I think it just gives... Yeah, I think it just gives them more time to perfect these movies and a little bit more space in between them because of the marketplace post-COVID. Derek, what were your thoughts on this announcement?
So the one thing I'll say for all this, on the DC, on the Marvel side, all this stuff, as they move stuff back and adjust, it's simply because now they see the fact they're making money on all the IPs that are on streaming. So you see Disney Plus, you see HBO Max, they're putting these shows in and they're giving them their due spots. So they don't want to overlap any of the stuff they're trying to do. So if Hawkeye is coming in, you don't want to throw something on top of it. If Eternals, you don't want to throw another TV show or the next season. So I feel that, especially with Disney owns so much stuff, and they are ones who plan precisely to make the most money ever. Like they are a numbers machine. So they're looking at what's the best day to make the most money off this, to give us a big enough run so we have at least a month to sell toys before we have to sell the next toy, to sell the next shirt, to sell the next ride that comes up at Disneyland. So they are a huge monster about that. And the vertical integration when it comes to them is bar none the best. They will sell you everything from the shoes on your feet to the hat on your head and everything in between. So when it comes to Disney, I think it's just them saying, look, too close, we're not going to make enough money. Move it out, we're going to get more money. Like, they have all this stuff ready. There's no reason they have to stop or slow down. And it's not even a COVID thing so much as it's let everything make the money it needs to make before we overlap again and again and again. So I feel like that's where we're at. Same thing with DC. DC's trying to do the same thing with HBO Max. They want to release these titles. So if they're going to have something that's super, they don't want to have something super in the theater at the same time. So they're trying to kind of offset all this stuff as well. And so that's kind of where we're coming to play, whether it's just the fact that they're trying to make the most money off these IPs in this new digital streaming world.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think that sounds pretty right to me. Wendy, what are your thoughts?
I'm actually surprised to see this shift happen because I thought those days of shifting movies in this kind of capacity, like multiple movies at once, is kind of behind us. That's like 2020, maybe early 2021. And,
Right.
like more people are people are going back out and visiting theaters again. And we saw the success of, Shang-Chi's release strategy to release it in theaters exclusively for the 45-day period before
Yep.
hitting which is coming up very soon. So for everybody who is still a little iffy about going to theaters, you're going to be able to get that on Disney Plus very, very soon, which I'm so excited for. But also with, and I totally agree with what Derek said, that Disney no longer has to just have movies to worry about. They have a whole streaming monster that they also have to worry about with all these shows, Marvel shows, I'm trying to think of the word that is like not coming out of my head because I haven't had enough coffee, but everything has to line up for especially the MCU. So it's hard for them to just shift one movie without some sort of consequences
Right.
for the following ones, because it's all within this giant multiverse universe that they've built. So it makes sense. It makes sense that with Hawkeye coming out, and it's debuting end of November, and then
Yes.
that's gonna play itself out, and then they're gonna have Book of Boba Fett that's gonna follow that, and then they will have so there is a lot of like scheduling stuff they have to worry about. And then for the non-Marvel movies that's still under the Disney banner, they still have to be like, well, we can't just ignore it because it's not Marvel, so they have to still give it its time and space in theaters. I don't think this is a oh, we're afraid of the Batman doing well, because the original date, because first of all, the Batman is going to do extremely well.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange, its original date was March 25th, while the Batman is March 4th. People are going to go and see Batman on that opening weekend and the following weekend. And then after that, you still have like at least 1 week space between the opening of the Batman and Doctor Strange 2. So there's not going to be a lot of crossing when it comes to that. So I don't think they're worried about that at all. I think they're doing it. It's I think Derek has nailed it in the head.
Yeah, you touched on it too. One thing it says, you touched on the Boba Fett, and that's the thing. Like, Disney doesn't compete with anyone else; they compete with themselves. Because we have a Star Wars title coming out, then a Marvel title, and then we need to get Pixar in there, and then don't forget about regular Disney too. So you have all those different things, and Disney just competing with themselves. Like I said, they want to make sure you're holding a plushie of the child, as well as eating a Guardians of the Galaxy ice cream while wearing a Pixar shirt. Like, they want to make all that happen. If they could.
You're describing me.
And that's it. If you're the demographic, and that's the one thing. All Disney people, Marvel, whatever, you're the demographic, and you don't apologize for it. It's just a lot. It's just life.
No, and I agree with Wendy. I don't think Marvel or Disney are afraid of anything or any other property or IP when it comes to Marvel. I think they've built their fan base and they're not going anywhere. So yeah, I agree that probably didn't have as much to do with Batman as it did to do with just everything else they have planned and coming out.
And can I just say, it's such a great time to be a fan, because literally in the same month, we're going to get the Batman and Doctor Strange too. Like, yeah, I'm so excited.
For real. So real quick, before we run out of time, there was a big announcement last week. Finally, some Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 news. We've been waiting so long for this film to happen. Will Poulter, who I know him best from We're the Millers, but has been in a lot of different films and series, has been cast as Adam Warlock. A little bit of a surprise, not quite as big of a name as I thought they might go for, but an excellent actor. A really good actor. And so I think very interesting. And you can kind of see, I think they're almost going for a young Prince kind of thing happening with him. I think it's very exciting and exciting that we're getting any Volume 3 news at all. So let me start with Wendy. Wendy, what were your thoughts on the announcement last week? Pretty much as soon as we finished last week's Pop Council, we got hit with this news.
I was like, no, why didn't you break 5 minutes before? No, I think it came a couple hours later. I was surprised. I was surprised to hear any sort of updates about Volume 3. I was surprised to even get like that we've cast this, and the director James Gunn himself confirmed this news, I was like, wait, what? Because it feels so long ago that we got the tease that Adam Warlock is finally going to be introduced into the MCU, and we got that in the end credit or the post-credit scene, mid-credit scene for Volume 2. And I kind of, not like I forgot about it, but I just wasn't expecting to hear anything about it because there's so many other stuff that's coming up right now for Marvel. You know, like we're talking about the Eternals, which is coming up, and everybody's freaking out over, you know, the multiverse of madness. And then we have, even though this is Sony, Spider-Man No Way Home. So this is a nice surprise. Like you said, I really enjoy Will Poulter as an actor. I also remember him most well from We Are the Millers. So I think he's going to be able to capture, one, the personality of my God, Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock.
And he's going to be able to use his like comedic timing for James Gunn's script. Because Guardians, we know it's really, really funny. They have, you know, these great timing when it comes to jokes. And I think he's going to be one of those actors that knows how to balance between the seriousness of the situation and also making light of whenever the script calls for it.
Absolutely. Derek, I want to get your thoughts on the casting, as well as let me pose this question to you real quick, which is, you know, we saw with the announcement of Jonathan Majors as Kang in Ant-Man 3, that was announced super early. And then, of course, we saw him in the Loki series before we get to... My question is, do you think that we might see Will play Adam before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, since this announcement has come so early in the production process?
I think the one thing that we all need to do is we all need to take a step back more than anything else, because he's been announced as Adam Warlock. But I think Adam Warlock, what made more sense before COVID and all this happened, when he was going to be maybe part of the Avengers world, because as anyone who read the comics knows, he is the guy who had the Infinity Gauntlet on a regular basis in comics, and he was someone who's kind of like a introspective, like his mind was the galaxy kind of character. So he wasn't necessarily a funny character. He was someone who's kind of trying to find, you know, he came into being. He was trying to understand himself and the galaxy at the same time. So there was a lot of that in play as well. But we also should remember that when we talk about characters and them coming in, I mean, we saw Suicide Squad and we saw all the titles of people who were going to be there, and how many of them died like that? So I mean, he could just bring them in for like a quick little sidebar snack, and you're like, there it is. I mean, truth be told, Adam makes sense, and I would love to have him, but truthfully, in this new universe, I would rather see Nova. I think Nova works better for Guardians, and bringing him into play would be a bigger part of what he could do and be part of that whole galaxy than Adam would right now. Because Adam, like I said, was part of the Infinity Gauntlet and all the stones and those things like that. So really, I feel like his play could be some things in there, but I don't think it's going to be as big as we think. I think it's going to fall to the wayside, and I think it's going to be more about Guardians, and there's going to be some stuff going on, but I don't believe him to be someone who's all powerful or coming in. I don't think he's going to be the villain in any sort. And then as for Will being part of it, I think he can play it. He's got a good view to him, but I don't know if he's going to be someone with a big personality, or he's just going to be like a stoic, very quiet person, because he was just made in a tube. So it's not like he grew up with a personality. He's coming.
But I think that would be funny in nature, though. That because he's so kind of detached from like how humans like. I think that would be the comedy of it.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, there's so much we don't know. Yeah. And as we saw, you know, there's so many other things that are happening. Gunn is making everything out there one way or the other. We saw animated Tales and other things that are coming out too from him, and so there's a lot of other stuff to play. So I think it was announced, and it's something he you know, said so, but we haven't seen anything to say that Adam's going to be a big part of it. It's just he's going to be there. I don't know if it's something that's going to be part of the story, or he's just, you know, being him. And he's like, you know what? I have to tie off this ribbon. I opened this box. I got to take it out, show it a little bit, and then I can throw it away. I mean, for me, that's kind of where it feels like, and I could be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I get what you're saying. Like, he did introduce this in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, so there might be a feeling of we need, to fulfill this promise. But let's not forget that we are going to see the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special before we get Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So maybe that's where we'll see him first before Galaxy 3.
Or possibly Thor Love and Thunder.
I mean, there's a lot of options. Unfortunately, we're out of options. That is all the time we have today. I wanted to thank our audience for tuning in and remind you that we are just one of the shows that the Hollywood Critics Association has been launching this year. So make sure to subscribe, hit that button, like this video, and tune in to Pop Council every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Also want to mention some other shows the Hollywood Critics Association has going on, including The Long Box with Tessa Smith and Janita Davis. That's Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time and 8 a.m. Pacific time. We also have Horrifically Horrifying on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. with Heather Wixon and Kevin Taft. Hollywood Approved with Yale and Kristen at 3 p.m. Pacific time. What to Stream on Thursdays at 11 a.m. hosted by Morgan Rojas. What's Trending in Hollywood on Fridays at 11 a.m. hosted by Scott Manzel. Also, we want to tell you about the morning show After Show, which is a weekly spoiler-filled recapitulation of the Apple TV Plus series, now in its second season. Join HCA's own Kira Lynn, Morgan Rojas, and Kevin Taft, plus special guests from the show to connect the dots together the morning after. And finally, please check out HCA's Foundation After Show, where we talk about the Foundation, the new Apple Plus TV series, every Friday at 12:01 a.m. Pacific time and 3:01 Eastern time with myself, Yale Teagle, and Nikki Fowler. Well, let's thank our guest, Derek Sante. You got, I see the Super Pets are there. Derek, let everyone know where they can check you out.
I have to mention right now, 3 things. Super Pets are coming out right now. And of course, The Rock and Kevin Hart, why are they always together? We can get other voices. There's a lot more out there. I'm going to let that go, though. Number 2, Harley Quinn, the animated. I wish we would have saw more of that. It's amazing. Make sure you watch on HBO Max. And the third one is Doom Patrol. Got another season. And then, of course, it is on HBO Max, too. If you haven't watched it, please do. We have to keep this show going because it's just so weird and campy and great. So please watch that. Outside of that, you can follow me at Derek Sante or at Review Nation. Website's reviewNation.net. Or you can find me online for all the nerdy things, or you'll see me at the Comic-Cons.
Awesome. And Wendy, where can everyone check you out?
You can find me on YouTube under The Movie Couple, where we do tons of trailer reactions, movie reviews, and vlogs. You can also find me on the various social medias, Instagram and Twitter. I just had this business down here. And also streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Wendy Lee Szany.
Awesome. And I'm Jamie Philbrick. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Philbrock or Facebook at my name, Jamie Philbrick. Thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you next week back here on the Pop Council podcast.